Hey, how are you? I hope you're good. So I'm gonna talk about how I got into gaming. Yeah. So when I was like 13, I have a cousin brother. We're the same age. I went to a girls' school for high school, and then he went to a boys' school. So we grew up in a family where it was all about church. We were being wired to be those kind of people. Um, and then when my cousin brother was going to this boys' school, there was a lot of like being uh, being a gang and being known like being the best. And he was always that kind of person. He always aimed for the best, even when we were like back home. And our grandmother would give us like really hard things to do. He was gonna charge you to the game, like do it like as perfectly as he could. He was someone that would never, I'm saying he was, but he's someone that would not allow anything to destroy him. So yeah, so he was at the boys' school, I was at the girls' school. Our schools were actually very close, but we never like maybe we'd leave the house together, and he was the one that would wake me up to go to school because I used to love to sleep. So yeah, so him being at the boys' school, he get into his gaming era, and all of a sudden comes home with a PS2. Yeah, and he had sold his uniform to get that. He sold his blazer because he had like two blazers, and then he sold one. Of course, he didn't tell our parents, but yeah, he sold one of his blazers and got a PS2. So he was always in that. We would watch him. He wouldn't like let us like get close to it. Yeah. And then as time went by, he started like bringing the PSP. The first one that he owned was a white one, but because he was so attached to his PS2, I would end up like having the white PSP. And also because I wasn't allowed to leave the yard because I would spend like most of my weekend and my school holidays at my grandma's. So my grandma wouldn't let me get out of the gate because she used to stay in the ghetto, and that time there was a whole crazy thing that was happening with girls. Like girls were getting raped, and like one of our neighbors, she was raped actually coming from school. So yeah, my grandma wasn't having any of that, and she would buy me like super long dresses. And then I think I went into like a little bit of tomboy era that time because like yeah, I was just surrounded by my cousin brother and his friends, my uncles and their friends. So all I saw was just like these young guys and their energy just like being around me, and I felt like it was cool. So I started wearing jeans and t-shirts and Supras. But yeah, that's how I got into gaming. So I wasn't allowed to go outside, so now I was always supposed to be stuck at home. I had a phone. It was an Alcatel, a flip one, but I think I had Facebook on it. Yeah, so yeah, I had Facebook on it, but still, like to get money to buy some stuff to be on the internet was a little bit, it was hard because my grandma wasn't giving you pocket money, like for what? So yeah, so I got to have those PSP when my cousin brother was busy with his PlayStation, and the only game he had was GTA, Vice City on it. Then he had FIFA, and then he had Need for Speed Underground. We were like 13, 14. So these were the games that were only available because those were the games that he liked. So I was forced to play those games. I didn't like FIFA, but I would play GTA, and I got to master it. and I just fell in love with the visuals, and like I just loved like playing this whole character of being a guy and just like running around the streets with like popping people and just stealing their cars. Again, because I'm like chilling down here, I'm not allowed to leave the house. So just being that personality in that game was super, super cool. So I didn't care about going outside anymore, because before having this PSP, I was spending my days like chilling behind the yard and just like this, like painting my shoes. I was doing like weird stuff, like really weird stuff. So then yeah, I started playing GTA. I wasn't into Need for Speed, so I got a bit bored with GTA. So I tried now to play Need for Speed Underground. I would do anything for Underground, like anything. I'll do anything for that game. So I started playing that one, and then my cousin brother, I think it was PS3, I don't remember, but there was a time that the PSP wasn't working, and I was now forced to like chill with them in the boys' room and his friends. So they were mainly like playing FIFA, so I got to be exposed to that. I think they would do, yeah, I got exposed to that and start playing with them, because I wasn't allowed to leave the house. Like the only thing I had to do was make sure I do the dishes, I clean the house. Then after that, then what? I would try to study, but at some point you get tired, so I just go in the boys' room, chill. So one day I was like, yo, let me join the boys when they're playing FIFA, like, because they were not putting any other games at that time. So I had to get into it and start playing FIFA. I don't remember what PS it was. So I got into FIFA. I can play it, but it's not my thing. I really like GTA, but that's how also like I got into like loving Lil Wayne this much, because when we're playing these games, especially when I was playing like GTA, like I think there was that time when you could even have access to like put your playlist, like the music thing on PSP. So yeah, like my whole playlist was like all the new albums of Lil Wayne. So that was fun. So imagine like you're playing a Vice City and on that mission, and Lil Wayne is playing in the background. That was so cool. That was really cool. So that's how I got into gaming. It was through my cousin brother. I really, really love him. Yeah, because he taught me a lot. Like the personality I have, like he really like put so much into that when we were growing up. Me being into gaming, and me like the music that I love, and just like how I look at life. He's someone that would, even when we're young, he was always like, yo, like it's all about like looking up to each other and protecting each other, and yeah, not giving up. Like it doesn't allow me to give up. Nope, doesn't allow me to give up, never. But yeah, that's how I got into gaming. It was through my cousin brother, because I wasn't allowed to leave the house because girls were getting raped in my area, and I still feel bad. And I think also, you know, my grandma, to protect me, she thought that was the best thing, not to let me go outside the house. But it also made me feel, you know, a bit weird, because it's like you don't have a social life. But I'm grateful that, you know, my cousin brother let me use his PSP. So I'm talking about the 2000 era. So yeah, my PSP was, I mean, my brother's PSP was my only space to just not feel what was going on. Like this fear that my grandma had, of like, you know, girls getting raped. And yeah, so this was like my peace. I would just, you know, maybe go outside like the house and go behind the yard and have the PSP on, play my games, get lost in them, So I really like love it. I love it for that. It saved my life. That's how I got into gaming, and I feel like my love for PSP is because it saved my life. Yeah, when I didn't have friends, because I wasn't allowed to leave the house, so I was always like, and also putting like my rage and my anger on it, like I'm gonna show this girl, and getting on the missions. Yeah, it just, yeah. And also I feel like the way I live my life sometimes is inspired by GTA, because when you're playing that game, you just like focus on your mission and the money. So yeah, that's how I got into gaming. I mean, if you have questions for me, please hit me up. So my, like, the other PSP that I have is this, but I don't use it because the white one reminds me of when I was 13 and I missed my cousin brother. So this is my baby. I have to charge her. This is the charger. So I'm gonna charge my baby. And if you got questions about, I don't know, those gaming stuff, please let me know. And also, yeah, like when we're doing this, like our grandma didn't know or understand what it was, because if she knew, she wouldn't allow it. And yeah, like I am a gamer, like full-time one. Like I am a gamer, a full-time one. And I also like Tekken, any. But then I also look at like, even like my style, like just goes around those game characters. So thank you for coming. Let me go charge this baby.